Hey guys, Brendan from TAT here. Today I'm going to be doing a review on the Bosch KTS ESI tronic Evolution diagnostic system. So the Bosch KTS system has been around for a while. I'm sure you've heard of it, but it has been through a few evolutions through its life. So I've got the latest and greatest version here. We're going to run through it on a vehicle, and quickly I'll just run through the hardware side of it so you know what we're using. So I've got here the heart and the soul of it. So this is your vehicle communication interface, or the VCI. Now this is the Bosch KTS 590, which is the big brother. The littler brother is exactly the same, just you won't get the 2-channel oscilloscope. Still has a multimeter that you can use on it, but the 590 comes with a 2-channel oscilloscope there. So this in itself is your vehicle communication interface. Obviously OBD into the vehicle. We then got 100 meters Bluetooth range where we connect up to the software, which is Windows PC based. So while you can have some turnkey options from Bosch in, say, this tablet, the DCU 120, which is a semi-rugged type tablet that I quite enjoyed using, you can put it onto any Windows-based laptop PC. They also offer this GTAC semi-rugged unit, which I would say that's been my preference, so I've used both of them. It is a preference type thing, but the depth that this goes into with wiring diagrams, component testing, all of those diagnostic tool features that set it way apart from just your regular scan tool. I quite like having a slightly bigger screen, and this is easy enough to maneuver around, put in inside the engine bay and all those kinds of things, all right? So the 590 or the 560 in itself is a industry-leading pass-through device. So again, if we put the scan tool diagnostic features to the side for a moment, this is something that's going to allow you to get into that OE level as well. So if you want to buy a subscription and rent the factory scan tool, you're going to need a J-Box, a pass-through device, which is what this is. And really, if you go into that function and you've gone to manufacturer, you've paid your money, one of the first things you're going to run to is either a drop-down box or a settings menu where it asks what box are you using, what pass-through device. Now, if it doesn't list yours there, you're pretty dead in the water. You can try and trick it. You may go and choose one that isn't really what you're using and cross your fingers and hope that you get there. But you'll find that the Bosch, being a big global manufacturer, obviously tied in with a lot of the actual vehicle manufacturers, if you want something that's well supported, it's very, very rare that you're going to run into anything that you can't use the Bosch KTS on. That also obviously links in with programming as well, so you can go pay an OE subscription, use this as a pass-through device to do your programming. Now, I'm using, just so we get it out of the way, throughout all this diagnosis and running it on the vehicle there, I've got myself a power stabilizer. Obviously got the Bosch unit here that we're giving a try as well. So this is the BAT 6120, the 120 standing for 120 amps. So this will do everything that you would expect out of a battery stabilizer. We can maintain up to 120 amps. We can use it as a battery charger, lead acid, lithium. We can do everything you'd expect. So worth taking a look at, but I think we're going to focus on the diagnostic functions today. So I'm going to put this onto a vehicle. Now, anything European is a walk in the park for the KTS. But what I want to do is stretch its legs a bit, so I'm going to get a really common vehicle in Australian workshops, the Mazda BT50 or PX Ford Ranger if you like. Now, that is also a VDO Siemens common rail system, so we're getting something that's a bit more Australian. We're getting it out of its quite comfort zone where it's not a Bosch system, but this is super capable across your car park, so Siemens, Denso, doesn't matter who's made the vehicle underneath the skin there, this is still an extremely competent aftermarket scan tool. I'm going to save a bit of time by not running through all of those basic scan tool functions. If you expect something out of a scan tool like global OBD, special functions, bidirectional controls, full vehicle, fault code scan, all of those kinds of things, of course it can do it, right? We're not going to waste time running through all that, but it's quite capable. What I want to focus on is some of the more advanced type things that stood out to me, that in all honesty, that it takes this thing from a scan tool to a diagnostic platform, right? So this is quite different in that it is going to cover right from when you connect into that vehicle to turning into an information system, and in all honesty, you can do everything from the software itself, which is pretty cool. Okay, so we've got this Mazda BT50 here. I've connected my KTS vehicle communication interface to the OBD port. Worth noting that that unit, it's totally capable future-proofing. So when we talk about later protocols like DOIP, diagnostics over internet protocol, or Ethernet if you like, it is capable of that. Obviously it can take care of all your older stuff, K-line, CAN, it's quite capable. So we're connected in there, we're Bluetoothed onto the software. So first thing to do, obviously we need to choose our vehicle. Now we can type in some terms there, or we can go read out the VIN. So it's grabbed my VIN, we'll go down, see if we've got my vehicle, the BT50, that all lines up, so we'll grab it. Now you'll see that it's blued the sections that it has content for, so I am able to go through into each of these boxes here. We're going to start, this is a check engine light based vehicle, so we're going to start as we would with a full vehicle scan. So we're going to diagnostics, and while we do have obviously all your basic options like global OBD, and we can even get into service tasks quicker if we didn't want to be going through and getting into an actual module to do, say, a steering angle calibration or something like that, I want to go to system search so I can do a full vehicle scan. Okay, so we've finished our full vehicle scan, give or take 30 seconds. You know, it really isn't a scan tool specific thing. That's going to be more the vehicle, how many modules, what networks they're running, how many networks, all that kind of thing. So in all honesty, I don't care how long a scan takes. That's not a judgment of a tool. Obviously, being a check engine light, we're going to go into the engine itself. Straight away you can see you're dealing with like a more professional tool. You know, I can see that it's listed EDC SID 208, which is the Siemens common rail system running in this basically. So you know, just little things like that that tell you you're dealing with something that's a bit more. So if we go to our error memory, we've got this EGR position, and not uncommon for BT50s, the glow plugs and glow plug module itself. So I'm more concerned with the EGR position side of this one. Now you notice this is all hyperlinked, right? So we can click into these, and this is where it starts to show that this diagnostic system, it's trying to funnel you places, right? And that's what testing's all about. We start quite broad, and then we want to funnel deeper, deeper, deeper until we're at such a specific point that we find the fault. So this is always trying to lead you down that path. I'll show you what I mean by that. So before I click into that hyperlink, which is what I'd be doing if we just had this vehicle, on a typical scan tool, you know, you then come out, we might go into your actual values, we can bring up maybe the EGR position and take a look at it. So let's bring it up there, continue. And sure, we've got it there, the car's off at the moment, we can throw it into graphing and all those kinds of things. But what I would be doing using the KTS, if we go back out to our codes that we've got there. So one, we can, on that code, we can go into continue, and we've got our freeze frame data for the code right there. But more importantly, we can click through it as a hyperlink. So I'm going to click on that code. Now the KTS software, it's gone through its databases and it's seen that it realizes this is a code relating to EGR. It goes, you know what, you're probably going to want to go look at this even more specific EGR position sensor. Now, obviously, if that code was relating to various possibilities, then you could have multiple things here, but that's the nature of a more difficult problem. There are more things that you're going to want to check. But straight away it said, look, you better go have a look at this EGR position sensor. I'm going to give you everything I can to help you down that path. So we click into it, and you'll notice that we're over in manuals now. So while we're at diagnosis, it's automatically taking us through to manuals. So like I said, there's different ways to get to places. So if we didn't have those hyperlinks and whatnot, then we could ourselves go to manuals, we could go to circuit diagrams, but it's kind of trying to hold our hand and lead us there. So straight away it gives us a connected view. We run down and it gives us some test procedures on this, and we can link in our actual values from the multimeter that's part of that VCI, so we can look at it versus, you know, what it's saying we should have on either that pin or that actual value while it's running versus what you've truly actually got there. Now I'm going to go right back to the top there, and you'll notice we've got these actual values. We'll open up the instructions, and that should take us through to what would be those actual values that we saw when we read the code, we went to live data and we could see the live data. Well, it's going to go grab those for us and it's going to put us here on this page, so we're not jumping around too much. It's going and doing the legwork, right? So let's come down, and we've got a few values here where we've got telling us what we can have key on, engine off. We can have from warm and idling, we want to be within this range here, and we'll just take a look. We want to be within 0.5 and 1 at 3000 RPM. So firstly, let's go start the car up. And now you'll see that we've got the true live value that's happening up on the screen there. Now, you see it jumping around, and we can copy that. So when I press this, you'll notice down here, it's going to copy the reading, which at least it's got it slightly different there. So what we're doing there, why would you want that? Why have it there? So we're building what they call a protocol, which is basically your report that you're giving to the customer. So I'll show you at the end. Everything that we're doing here, if you notice when we did the code scan, we could have pressed the save button. Doing this one, it's automatically. It puts it all into what they call protocols. Now that's value building, where at the end, rather than having to take screenshots, live recordings, taking stuff from multiple tools and trying to cobble it together, this is literally going to print out a multi-page report if we've been doing some in-depth stuff, which shows everything that we've done for the customer. Even if this ends up being, at this point, you know, this looks like an intermittent fault because there's an EGR valve is working, it's within the spec there. So it's at least showing to them all these tests that we did do so that we can prove our worth. And obviously, if we find something that's going to be the problem, it's nice to be able to record that, and it's great for our test procedures. Now, we can also go one step further here. So while we're looking at the live data, remember this thing has a multimeter and a scope on it as well, and we can actually tee those in right here at this page too. So I can go to open close the multimeter, and I can go and hook that up to the position sensor itself, and we'll see what readings we get. So we've got this lead here, two wires, just like any, positive and negative. We can use this for a single channel on our scope, or we can use it for the multimeter. So I'm just going to put these two ends into the BCI, and then obviously we're going to back probe the component itself. Okay, so we've now got the live reading there as well. So obviously in this case where we didn't actually have a fault at the moment being intermittent, it doesn't make much sense to go and do that, but we're showing the review of the tool, right? So as you can imagine, if we had a discrepancy there, we're looking at what the ECU's seeing, and at the exact same time we're looking at what's actually happening at the sensor. So back on our initial fault code section here, while this is an intermittent problem, we don't really care about this car. I want to show you some more things about the tool itself. So while we used the hyperlink before to go to EGR, and that took us up to manuals, we can go through all this ourselves manually. So we can go into manuals, and there is a vast knowledge base here, just similar like we had with the EGR, but into all kinds of other areas. So let's say we just wanted to go into guided troubleshooting. Maybe we had a specific symptom that we wanted to do, and you'll see there's also these little thumbs up next to things. So interactively, if something helps you down the bottom, you can give it thumbs up, and you can find the things that are helping people around the world. So we'll go into the idling problems one, which has helped someone, and it's nice particularly when you get into other things like known fixes, which are essentially Bosch built technical service bulletins. You'll find the ones that have got a lot of thumbs up on them because they're actually working. Those known fixes, those are things that Bosch has taken, put into their knowledge base. These are certified by Bosch engineers. These are not just things off of Google that could be or would be. Those are true bulletins for repairs that you can follow, and those are obviously hyperlinked through to those fault codes as well. In this case, so this idling problem, EGR system is going to take us back to where we were as far as we can start to test the EGR system. We may want to look into something like, say, the piezo injectors, the fuel injectors. So shows all of the codes that would hyperlink you to get you here. And similar to our EGR, we've got our connector view. In this case, we've even got a scope pattern, and it's going to go through and hold your hand, tell you how to test it and all those things, right? So we can use this tree up the bottom here. We don't have to go all the way back to manuals. We can just go back to engine management. And to quickly run you through some of the other things, we could maybe even start right from the start, and you just may want to know what is actually on this vehicle and how does it work. You know, what valves do we have to deal with as far as this fuel management system. Just the same, we may want to get into, say, some component locations even. Sometimes it's that hard to find, you know, where is this thing that I actually want to test, right? So we can go into there, and honestly, we could be in here for hours for me to show you the true extent of just how far this goes. Now we could go to circuit diagrams, or we're in engine here, we want to go to, say, the engine wiring diagram. Again, different ways of getting to the same place. To take, for example, let's go with our EGR again, so component A22.2, we can zoom in, or we'll just keep going at this bird's eye view, that being A22.2, so we could start to zoom in, manipulate this diagram a little bit. It's giving us our pins. It's giving us in really short form, which is what you want, so you don't have to be clicking around too much. You know, this to me says that we've got a 5 volt and a negative, and then an output. So this is all going to be your position sensor, whereas 2 outputs from the ECU, this being the EGR and that being the ECU, 2 outputs are going to be your motor itself. So just quickly, it's showing you that, and I know, okay, great. That's how I know to go back probe that pin if I wanted that signal. Other cool things with the diagrams, specifically you can click on a circuit. So I find for relays particularly, things like that, if we click on that circuit, it's going to go and highlight it and show us where it goes. So you can start to see, particularly for power distribution, you know, what is on what specific circuit. So super cool. Okay guys, so we scratched the surface there of some of the things the KTS can do, but just to rapid fire wrap up some of the capabilities that we haven't even mentioned yet, that in all honesty are game changers that could blow some other scan tools away just on their own merit. Secure gateways is a huge one. So I'm sure by now all of us have run into a vehicle where we've connected onto it, we've done a code scan, maybe it let us get that far, but then we run into a secure gateway, we can't clear codes, we can't read live data, we can't do actuations, you are locked out. The Bosch KTS is definitely the leader in that space at the moment, in my opinion. So being a global OE supplier, obviously Bosch has some inroads that some other manufacturers may not, where they are leading the way there of getting us through those gateways in a completely seamless manner. So rather than even having to have multiple individual sign-ups for different manufacturers, whether it be Jeep, VW, Mercedes, you name it, what Bosch is putting in is a one-pass key that we can get into all those manufacturers through the tool. Now obviously it's not going to get you into all of them. The work is still going on, and this is a day-by-day thing, but by far it is a more capable tool than other scan tools I've used of getting me through those secure gateways. And while you have a valid subscription, you would not even know that the process took place, because you just keep on using your tool the same that you always did, rather than getting that big stop sign on another manufacturer's scan tool that says no, we can't do anything, or having to go to the specific vehicle manufacturer's site to then log in and go through all that jazz, right? So leads the way in secure gateways. We looked into some of the wiring diagrams, manuals and that kind of thing there. When we get into the European side of things, so what Bosch call original documents, and it's just because of that. So let's take VW for example. When we're in there, those are original documents that it's giving you for test procedures, wiring diagrams. That is literally what you're going to be getting if you were signed in on the VW portal. So again, Bosch being big global manufacturer, got their components in a lot of these vehicles. They have original documents that are on there, and you can take a look on the site and read all about that. So talking subscriptions, speak to your local Australian suppliers for current pricing, but I was quite surprised the value that you get here. So when you consider that you're getting a industry leading pass-through device, And then for the software, they've broken it into a 3-tier model. So if you don't feel like you need everything, then you're not paying for everything. So you've got your diagnostic package, which is the base level, and that's going to cover this thing for the scan tool itself, right? So that's the diagnosis of control units. You do also get the equipment catalog that I mentioned, and importantly, it has the experience-based repairs, or those known fixes. I reckon the best value though comes in the advanced package, so that steps you up to more of a data provider type situation where you've got those manuals, the wiring diagrams, and the original documents, which are awesome to have that itself in a handheld tool. The master package to cover the absolute top tier, that gets you into what they call comfort systems, so that's starting to talk about full vehicle type wiring diagrams, and maintenance schedules and information is going to get you obviously service schedules and a lot of repair procedures for service-based things like say timing chains and that kind of thing. So it turns it more into a tool that now is covering the whole workshop itself, whereas you may want to be at either just the scan tool itself or tier 2, like I call it, more of a data provider. To wrap this one up, guys, so I've really enjoyed my time with the KTS. It's definitely more than a scan tool. It's taking it to that next level, you know, getting into OE area where a lot of these OE tools now, it's not just live data and go fix it yourself. There's test procedures, test plans built into these tools, wiring diagrams, all that stuff, and you can see that that's where Bosch is heading as well. Being a top OE manufacturer, you know, we get into those things like the original documents, and you can also be confident that what's in there is legitimate data that you can follow. So you do feel really supported when you use it, and you know, if there's something in there, a function, you know that it's going to work, and it's not just one of those situations, oh, I pressed it, was it the tool that didn't actuate it, or what's going on, right? So I quite like that. The pass-through device, as I said, absolute top tier. That is going to support you going forward when you start getting into manufacturer portal type stuff for programming or using their software. The scope is capable enough to grab, say, like a crank sensor, grabbing a wheel speed sensor, you know, that kind of run and go type stuff. Certainly, this 2-channel scope, there is better standalone units out there when you start talking about Pico, but that is what it is. You know, you're talking a few $100s to add from the 560 up to the 590. Sometimes all you want is that quick, you know, even single channel capture of something to get moving forward on, say, that wheel speed sensor. Like I say, preferred using the laptop itself. Bit of a preference thing. The tablet does have its benefits though, you know, pinch and zoom on diagrams and that kind of thing, but the amount of information that's on there, I benefited from having the slightly bigger screen I found, and just that was my preference. So I think overall there's quite a good value package that's going on here when you look at all that you're getting, much more than a scan tool itself. So definitely worth looking into it, guys, and I'll catch you at the next review.